Hello, my name is Richard. I'm a guide up here at Hearst Castle. Welcome to another video in the series, The Unsung Heroes of Hearst Castle. This series turns the spotlight on all those artists and employees who worked to make Hearst Castle what it is today, a national and state historic monument. In this video, I will focus on two of those artisans, Theo Vanderloo and his son John. Theo and John were master artisans specializing in ornamental plaster and cast stone. Cast stone being the process in which sand and cement are mixed and modeled, with the end result looking like stone. The statues beside me here are good examples of their work. They are in fact behind the castle because this is where the Vanderloos had their workshop. Their workshop is long gone, however their work does live on up here on the hill. And this is the Vanderloo story. In April 1919, publisher William Randolph Hearst hired architect Julia Morgan to design and build Hearst Castle on the central coast of California, halfway between Los Angeles and San Francisco. Morgan was not only Hearst's architect, but his general contractor as well, the person responsible for sourcing material and manpower. One of Morgan's first hires were Theo Vanderloo and his son John. This is the only photo we have of the Vanderloos together, and the only known photo of John. It was taken by Morgan circa 1923. Theo and John are proudly standing beside a piece of ornamental plaster they have just cast. It is a medallion that will be installed in the ceiling of Casa del Mar, the largest of the three luxury cottages on the hill. When Morgan came knocking on the Vanderloos' door in 1920, Theo and John were sculptors living and working 200 miles to the north in Oakland, California. This photo of Theo was taken in his Oakland studio, where he did the bulk of his master mold making for Morgan. Molds that, when ready, were shipped down to the castle by coastal steamer. Theo and John would then use the master molds to cast copies, such as those seen in this photo taken in the Vanderloo workshop on the hill. This rare photo shows the artisans who worked for Theo in his Oakland studio, men who made up the Vanderloo crew. After the Vanderloos arrived on the hill, they went to work on the three luxury cottages: Casa del Monte, Casa del Sol, and Casa del Mar. Working from Julia Morgan's drawings, the Vanderloos cast and installed the plaster ceilings and the friezes. With paint and gilding by Frank Humrich and his crew, the ceilings and the friezes really do steal the show. In order to extend a design, the Vanderloos often cast duplicates of original artwork by making plaster copies. A good example are the panels that extend the assembly room ceiling. To this day, it is impossible to tell which are the original 7 wooden panels bought by Hearst and which are the 14 copies made by Theo and John and their crew. Clearly, Theo and John were gifted artisans, their work revealing just how talented they were. In 1930, after working on the hill for a decade, Theo Vanderloo decided to call it quits. Then 1 year later, in 1931, he passed away. What happened? We don't really know. Perhaps he was harboring an illness, or maybe he was simply worn out. Then, in 1936, William Randolph Hearst lost control of his company. The Depression, his anti-Roosevelt rhetoric, and his passion for buying art had seen to that. As a result, work on the hilltop stopped, and the workforce was reduced to a skeletal crew. Part of that crew was John Vanderloo. John reappears in the historical record in October of 1963 when he passes away at the age of 68. As for ornamental plaster and cast stone, those crafts had given way to the international style, a world in which the handcrafted work of artisans like the Vanderloos had no place. Theo and John Vanderloo truly were the last of a dying breed. Lucky for us, their work continues to live on up here at Hearst Castle.